Well, that 1 year with Phillip Rivers wasn't half bad, right? He led you to the playoffs. Pretty solid, but now you got Carson Wentz manning the helm. Someone Frank Reich is actually very familiar with. But we'll get into that in a sec, as we're going to do an Indianapolis Colts season breakdown and deep dive of the roster. I'll give you my projected starters as well as a prediction on how they will fare in the 2021 NFL season. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Brushmo, just in case you did not know so. Go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave that thumbs up if you enjoy the content, or at least appreciate it. And let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have some nice, beautiful football discourse, because I know you ain't going to agree with everything I have to say. But let's go ahead. Let's get in. Let's take a look, take a gander at this roster, starting with the offense, of course. Now, you heard me talk about how Frank Reich's pretty familiar with Carson Wentz, because Frank Reich was the offensive coordinator for the Eagles a time ago. Now, let's be honest. Frank Reich, he is the offensive play caller here, while Marcus Brady is the offensive coordinator. It's Frank Reich calling all the plays. Now, back on this 2017 Philadelphia Eagles team, Reich he mainly operated out of 11 personnel, which three wide receivers, a running back, and a tight end, which really hasn't been his thing since arriving with the Colts. Though they did do it a lot more actually this past season. They actually opted to have 3 wide receivers on the field rather than 2 tight ends. Though they still like to utilize their tight ends, and they got a good set of tight ends there with Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox really coming out last year, and they bring in Kylan Granson, who's a bit of an undersized tight end, more of a jumbo receiver, jumbo slot guy. I think is how they're going to utilize him, but good receiving chops on this cat. He's a vertical separator at that as well. But it sounds like from the mini camps that he's the likely tight end 3. But regardless, I think we will probably see a bit more 11 personnel this year, because the thing is they just have very uninspiring choices there to play the slot. Because I mean, T.Y. Hilton's great. Michael Pittman Jr. looked pretty good at parts last season during his rookie year. But then who's man in the slot? It was Zach Pascal. He's more of a depth guy, man. I know a lot of y'all Colts fans really like him, but he's really more of a wide receiver 4 or 5. But you also got Paris Campbell. Will he stay healthy this time around? You got Desmond Patman, who was I think, I don't know I can't remember if he was an undrafted free agent or if he actually drafted him in 2020 out of Washington State. But those are all very uninspiring. And some unproven choices there. That's why I kind of mentioned Kylan Granson there as kind of maybe a jumbo slot. They could put T.Y. Hilton there in the slot as well, but who's kicking outside? Zach Pascal? I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting receiver room, to be honest. Like looking at they brought in some vertical separators in J.J. Nelson, Tyler Vaughn's out of USC. Michael, what was it, Strachan? He was out of Charleston. He's a bigger body receiver, but dude blew up the stat sheet in 2019 there for Charleston. But mainly it's going to be Pittman, it's going to be Hilton, and I honestly think maybe they give Campbell another shot there, or maybe they do opt to you could put Jack Doyle on the outside there. Like there's a lot of different ways they can still utilize an 11 personnel, even if they're using 2 tight ends. So at least they'll probably kick a tight end to the slot. So yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up just because I like seeing the comparisons of potentially the comparisons to this year's Colts team and that 2017 Philadelphia Eagles offense. Now, I really think what we will see is a ton of RPOs, because the Eagles in 2017 they ran RPOs at the second highest rate in the whole NFL, and I think that's something he's going to bring back with Carson Wentz, because I mean that's when Carson Wentz was at his best. And why not? You have one of the best offensive lines in all of football. You have a very deep backfield. Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, Marlon Mack, even Jordan Wilkins has had time to shine. I mean, those are the 4 backs on the roster. I don't care who else they bring on board here. Like guys like I liked Benny LeMay out of was it Charlotte a couple of years ago? He's a good practice squad. Those 4 guys, those are the 4 guys they're going to be rolling with. But yeah, why not? Why not bring some of the stuff that gave Carson Wentz some of that success? I expect a lot more plays out of shotgun. So it's going to be very interesting. Again, this is some of the things I expect, not necessarily will come to fruition, but I think it was an interesting little study. Let's see how much of that Philadelphia team we'll see here this year in Indianapolis. But speaking of the offensive line, Eric Fisher likely won't be back till the end of August, cleared to practice, participate. But sounds like Colts, they're not rushing it. We might not see him till week 4, week 6. I think that's currently the timetable for his return, which is great. You don't want to be starting guys like Sam Tevy or Julian Davenport there at left tackle for too long. Because outside of that, if you got Fisher healthy, the weakest part of that line is Mark Lewinsky, who, if that's the weakest part of your line, then you're doing just fine. Because he's a pretty solid player in his own right. Obviously, Braden Smith, Quentin Nelson, amazing. Ryan Kelly's pretty solid. Looking at some of the depth they have there, I always want to bring up Danny Pittner, guy they drafted in 2020 out of Ball State. Very, very good. Kind of this tackle guard. Combination, could really play either position, but they mainly use him as a swing tackle. They drafted Will Fries out of Penn State this past year. I wasn't that high on him, but he was a late round pick, so no biggie. But really comes down to if this offensive line is fully healthy, mainly looking at that left tackle spot, then yeah, watch out. I really do think Carson Wentz could play very well in this offense. I mean, Frank Reich probably knows him best. So yeah, I mean, we saw what happened with Phillip Rivers last year. As long as they could get a guy that come back there and just keep his crap in check, could successfully manage the offense. Because let's be honest, man, they might lean a lot more on this rush attack, especially Jonathan Taylor, because he absolutely deserves that after his rookie season. And then just sprinkling in Nyheim Hines here and there. And then you also got Marlon Mack back there, who, honestly, in his own right, if it hadn't been for injury, I think he could be a starting running back somewhere in the league. It's quite unfortunate. But I think this offense is going to be pretty solid. Going to the defense. The defense, so interesting. This defense interests me so much. Mainly because Matt Eberflus, hopefully I'm not butchering that name. I really like how he coaches his defense. Now, he runs his base 4-3, but it's like a one-gap penetrating defense. That's kind of what part I want to talk about first, because he's brought in some parts there that I think fit perfectly. The DeForest Buckner trade was fantastic. He is literally a perfect fit to what Matty Eber wants to do here. And honestly, if Kimoko Ture could stay healthy, he's been very successful over the past couple of seasons in this defense. Just the last 2 seasons, he's only been able to play 180 some snaps. And of those snaps, 156 of them were pass rushing, which he turned out 26 pressures and 3 sacks. If this guy could just stay healthy, dude, this team would be getting pressure, because the thing about this defense is they don't like to bring in an extra pass rusher. And I think that's why they went after pass rush so aggressively this draft. I mean, their first two picks, Kwity Paye, and then Deo Odeyimbo, who probably won't play next season because of the ACL. I think it was ACL injury right before the Senior Bowl. But he's kind of this hybrid where he's maybe an edge setter and then come in, kick inside on passing downs. That type of very good, I guess you would say a rotation player. There's a good role there to be had, because Grover Stewart's actually been a very solid nose tackle / zero tech there. But yeah, if Ture can't stay healthy, then who do they have there play on the outside? Because like I said, this team, they don't like preferably you're getting pass rush with your front four. Last season, they did not do a good job of that because it was really just Buckner and then Justin Houston, who only played like I think 500 snaps last year for pass rusher, but they were 23rd in the league in terms of rate of pressure when only rushing 4. So you got to be more successful if that's kind of what you want to do. So it doesn't surprise me they brought in Kwity Paye, but then it's like what Ben Banogu, you got Tyquan Lewis, you got Muhammad there too, but none of those guys instill any like, in me. You know what I'm saying? So really, Teray, stay healthy. Paye, he is a monster. Bit raw, but he's a monster. I think he was a perfect fit here. So I'm very intrigued to see what this front four, what will it bring if everything goes right, if healthy. Like, it could be pretty savage. Just watch out. Now, going to the other part of Eberflus's defense being the coverage, because in 2018 was his first season there. They mainly played just kind of cover 2. It was a very like vanilla type of defensive coverage. And then in parts of 2019, he started to like evolve this coverage scheme. They ran a lot of cover 1 man looks. They ran some cover 3 and some man style concepts there. Like, and I think they've done a real good job in bringing in talent that's very familiar with this scheme. Like Xavier Rhodes, who was coming off a down year in Minnesota, came in, just excelled, dude. He was a top 10, top 15 corner in the league last season. Now they bring him back. Someone who was very familiar. Because parts of this is very Mike Zimmer-esque as well in terms of the coverage. But they also drafted Julian Blackmon, who at Utah, he sees a lot of this coverage as well. And even just assimilating some of these guys to this scheme. Like Kenny Moore, man. Dude has been, like, over the last couple of seasons, probably, like, one of, if not the best slot corners in all of football. Really, the question comes down to cornerback 2. Rocky Ya-Sin, he had a rough 2020. So much so, he ended up getting benched for TJ Carey, who's still on the roster here. That there's still that looming threat if he can't perform. But now you got Marvell Tell returning, who is actually familiar, guess what, with this coverage scheme. There we go. Back at USC, granted he was playing safety for USC and not necessarily corner, but he's familiar with it. He opted out last year. Expect him to. This is going to be an interesting position battle during training camp. I really think Rocky Ya-Sin ends up coming in on top, but I think Tell is really the wild card here. I really can't wait to see it. And I'm looking at the rest of the roster. I don't think there's really anyone that can challenge for that outside spot. But that's strange. They got George Odom here as starter. Julian Blackmon's going to be playing deep, while Kyer Willis, who has been very solid last couple of seasons, will be playing in the box. So, yeah, I don't know what they got going on here. It's interesting. Now, let's talk about the linebacker position, because obviously Darius Leonard, do we really need to talk about Darius Leonard? He's wonderful. He's a top 5, if not top 10 linebacker to a lot of people. I'll let y'all argue about that in the comment section. But now Anthony Walker, he's gone. Likely it's going to be, Bobby Okereke, who's going to be manning up the middle a lot more times than not. He did it a bit last year, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can kind of bounce back after this sophomore slump he went through, because he had a great rookie year, and then last year he just wasn't that good. The other guy who's likely to probably pick up some of the snaps here with Walker gone is Zaire Franklin, who I think he just had like maybe 100 snaps last year. Expect that to greatly increase, probably go up to like 500-600 snaps. So it'll be interesting to see how he does with a bigger role, because he was actually pretty good parts here and there. But it's not like they have actually extraordinary depth at linebacker either. Like EJ Speed is like a special team guy. Yeah, they really have nothing else there at linebacker. Not much depth, but his defense, honestly, if they're clicking, this is a good defense. This is like a top 15 in the league defense if they're getting pressure, because I think they do a lot. They do a lot of good things in coverage, like Xavier Rhodes, if he could replicate what he did last year. We know Kenny Moore's a monster. He's a beast. Julian Blackmon, he had some blown coverages on the back end here and there. I expect him to be better in year 2. And you know what you got on Willis? You got a very good player there in the box. It's really Rocky Sin. Do you expect him to come back in year 3? If he does, if that pass rush is getting through, if Teray can stay healthy, then yeah, watch out. This defense can carry, but I don't really think the offense necessarily needs them to. But it's nice to have that. So let's go ahead and look at who I have for the starters. Starting with the offense, I got obviously Carson Wentz, Jonathan Taylor. Hopefully you get the reps you deserve, man. Yeah, I thought he should have been on the field a lot more than he was last year. T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman Jr. I'm going with Paris Campbell, hoping the dude can stay healthy. Jack Doyle, Eric Fisher, Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Mark Glowinski, and Braden Smith. Kind of obvious there. And then looking at the defense, Kwity Paye, got Teray, Buckner, and then Stewart on the defensive line, and then Darius Leonard, Okereke. I got Rhodes, and Rocky Sin, man. I'm pulling for the Temple Cat here. Then Kenny Moore, Julian Blackmon, Kerry Willis. I feel like the stars are kind of obvious on the defensive end. It's kind of looking at the offensive line, right? It's obvious, you know who's starting. Really, this team, you already kind of know who should the starters be. I don't know what that says about their depth, but you know who the stars are going to be on this roster. Now, my prediction for this squad, because I really, really like the coaching staff, and it's just a winning culture there in Indianapolis. I don't think when will this team be a Super Bowl contender? That's a good question. I don't think this is the year, in year 1 of Carson Wentz. I got them going, though, a nice 10-7. They go 4-2 in the division, which I guess that's not saying much when the Texans are in your division. But that's good enough to qualify for the playoffs, the 6th seed in my predictions in the AFC. Their strength of schedule, it's not terribly difficult. I got a 6-1 record against losing teams, 4-6 against winning teams. 6-1 against losing teams, and 4-6 against winning teams. I feel like I'm butchering that. I don't know. You can see it on screen, so I really don't need to say anything. I mean, they have games again. Like, I have them going on a roll right here, you know, with quality wins against like the Niners, the Titans, the Bills. Then, dude, that's a tough slate right there. Bills, Bucks. Well, tough 2 games. Then you get a nice freebie. But I mean, having to face the Ravens. Look, I even gave y'all a win over my freaking Dolphins. You're welcome. But yeah, I think this team is good. Like, if I'm not gonna lie, I kind of projected it to be very similar to how they were with Phillip Rivers, and where they were. I think they were a 10-6 team last year. Indianapolis. Okay, I can't spell Indianapolis. Indianapolis Colts record. Oh wow, they were 11-5. So I got them winning 1 less and losing 2 more. Huh. Yeah, maybe 11 wins sounds a bit right. Regardless, okay, they made the playoffs. Screw it. They made the playoffs, so in my prediction. So you're welcome. But yeah, this is a good squad. Let me know if I got anything wrong in the comment section below, or if you disagree with anything I have to say. I love the discourse. I love the conversation. That's what this channel is. It's all about just talking some fun, good football. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. And as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.